This week you can win an AK Redline sticker craft. To enter like every week, like, comment and subscribe. And we do the posting on my Discord server, link up below. Yahoo! In the beginning, there was the Steam market. Then we had OP skins. Rest in pieces, by the way. After that, the exotic Buff 163 arose as the main source for pricing our CS skins. And in 2024, people are hella confused what prices they should use because Buff was locked for all people outside China. But today, we changed that. And as always, I'm giving a few examples so you can easily check the prices for yourself. Headphone warning here. After this message of my sponsor. Sorry. This video is sponsored by skinsmonkey.com. Skinsmonkey is an automated CSGO bot trading site. They offer a huge amount of skins to instantly trade to, 24/7 live chat support, and a 35% bonus on every cash deposit. With our referral code NEON, you can get a free up to $5 bonus on your first trade when exchanging items worth at least $100. So like you can see here, I've calculated a little bit and found this cool deal on Skinsmonkey. I also used my $5 bonus. I just selected these 5 items out of my inventory for these 2 gut knife safari meshes field tested. I even got some leftover balance on the side, which I can use for my next trade. The 2 gut knives were on trade logs, so I just saved them onto the side, but some days later I could just withdraw them to my Steam, and as you can see here, I've got a really good upgrade and with my bonus code also a really good deal. So check out Skinsmonkey right now. Link to the site with my bonus code is in the description. Okay, let's start. First, Buff 163 is not dead, but they strictly limited users outside of China to sell and buy items. Previously, you couldn't deposit or withdraw, but you could sell or buy items via bought balance or just with the balance you got from sales. And as Buff had the highest volume of all markets by far, with only a 2.5% selling fee and with really low prices, there was a really attractive offer. And with the high volume, especially when it comes to rare and special items, and the fact that it represents real money one by one, it was the best source for prizes and for people that want rare skins. But nowadays, it is still not a bad source, don't get me wrong, but if you only use Buff nowadays as a trader, you will encounter some problems. Let's see which those are and how we can prevent them. The main number of big traders, websites and companies that sell and buy big amounts of items come from outside of China. And if you followed traders like for example Anomaly, they mainly bought liquid items from users outside of China, sold them on Buff to users mainly in China, and resold the balance again for real money. But the fact that all of these Western suppliers are gone is now really noticeable. Don't get me wrong, Buff's sell volume is still insane, so the prices are still very reliable if you are trading, but if you compare the prices of Western markets with Buff, you will notice that many items, especially those that big traders flipped a lot, are around 3 to 10% cheaper than on Buff, which brings up 3 problems. If you snipe or buy items on marketplaces and use Buff as your main reference price, you will in many cases not make as much profit as you think you are. Let's take this AK Empress in minimal wear condition as an example. It's really liquid and I found on Skinport for €52.48, while on Buff it goes for €59.35, which would make this really liquid item an 88% Buff price deal. So that used to mean that you make around 10% of profit, which is really good. So Mr. Neon, you have balance on Skin Baron and there's no fee. Why are you not buying it? Really easy. If you now compare the price on Skin Baron with other markets and compare that to Buff, you will see that the average selling price that you will most likely resell this AK for is not around €59 like on Buff, but more around 56. Which is still not a bad deal, but it is only half of the profit you calculated, and if you have to pay some fees in the process, it can easily transform this 12% profit into a small loss. And also if you want to sell it to somebody privately and use Buff as a reference price, which used to be a very fair value, people will now just compare to other sites and quickly realize that they can get the skins cheaper there. Number 2, if you sell items on marketplaces for buff price now, they will not sell in many cases just because they are too expensive. Same problem if you trade items for other items and you say I want like 400 euros for my knife because that's the price on buff. People might just use Western sites and have a lower price there. So how do we solve this problem? Do we just use the website that has the best price for us? Of course not, that would be unfair. Who would do things like this? Nah, of course. We will have to find a reasonable price which both parties can agree on is fair. To be honest, if you are only trading skins for others, it is still very valid to use buff 163 as your main pricing source. Whenever real money is involved or you plan on selling the items in the future, it might be more reasonable to take other big Western marketplaces also into account. You don't have to ditch buff 163, but use other markets too for your pricing estimate. Just important is that you agree on something reasonable with the other party you are dealing with. For this, I am using priceempire.com, where I can check one skin and easily see how much it costs on several marketplaces at the same time. Be aware here that some marketplaces have fees, which might influence some of those prices. Let's take our trusty minimalware AK Empress again. You instantly see that buff is still the biggest marketplace here with over 800 listings for this skin, where in comparison even the biggest Western marketplaces with CSFloat and Skinport only have a little over 100 each. The more listings you have for a specific price, the more reliable a price is in theory. When you use Price Empire or any other tool to compare those markets, you will, at least for liquid items, very fast see something that I would call a reasonable price. For the Empress, I would say 56 to 57 euros is reasonable. There are cheaper listings, yes, but also more expensive ones. So when you price items, always ask yourself the question, if I list this item on marketplaces, for how much could I sell it within a reasonable amount of time? If you do that, of course, please be reasonable. Doesn't matter if it's your items or the items of the other party. This strategy will work for 98% of all items. But what if your item is special? Low floats, rare stickers, rare patterns, funny float, or even just a really rare item. How would you price check this, Mr. Neon? It's similar, but a bit harder. First, you need to know two things. The rarer an item is, the bigger the price range. The top of this range is the lowest listing you can find. So the cheapest price, you could instantly get it. The bottom line is usually the cheapest buy order you can find. So the highest price, you could instantly sell it. The more of these offers you have, the more confident you can be when it comes to these values. If your item is rare, actual sales are way more important than anything else. If you filter any market by the most expensive item, it is most likely not the real most expensive item on the market, but more likely a rare one somebody listed for max price, because he is either delusional or very, very optimistic. That is the number one reason why you should not be impressed when somebody offers you an item, which is listed on the Steam market at the moment for 1,800 euros. Because if it only sells for 2 euros, it is only worth 2 euros, nothing more. Let's show you some examples. So here we are now, and I selected 3 items I will price check for you, so you get a really good feeling of how this works. First, we start with my personal favorite, this Stattrak Karambit blue steel in battle scarred condition. Funny story, I had this knife for like 3 months a few years ago, and I couldn't sell it. I couldn't sell it, I just threw it on the marketplace at the end because nobody wanted it. Okay, but how would I price this nowadays? First, we go to Price Empire, so we see all the markets where this is currently listed. The cheapest listing seems to be on CSFloat. Let's just see. Yeah, there's one listed for around 682 euros. So Mr. Editor, bring up the graphics. It's only one listening, and this is a peer-to-peer marketplace, so it could be that the ducking buyer is not delivering. I accept trades. Yeah, he's really desperate on getting this one traded. I feel you, bro. But yeah, it's only one listening. So let's say we buy that, the guy is not ducking delivering because he didn't realize the price went up. I don't have too much confidence in that guess, even though I'm pretty sure he will deliver because he wants to get rid of it. A realistic price range for the listing price is around 680 to 726. Because on buff, on the other hand, we have many more listings for around the price. So I'm really confident that we could get one of those for that price. But now let's look for the bottom line. Let's see if we have any buy orders. So a price, somebody would instantly buy it. We can have that on big marketplaces. Yeah, this is a float cap. We ignore those. 658, which is a really good one. And another one for 657. So I would be really confident. This guy only has auto accept. So even if he doesn't want it, he will accept the item. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that a price between 660 and let's say 720 is realistic for this item. We can also look at some price histories here to get even more information about this item. But really important here, guys, is the sales. The more unliquid an item is, the more important you should look at actual sales, not listings or buy orders. If you just look at listings here, you could think, yeah, it's 720. Then you see how much it's actually selling for, and there are a few that are lower. So looking at these sales also, even though they are not that regular, I would still say that 680 to let's say 720 is a realistic price. So yeah, first one priced. Let's continue with, let's say, a sticker craft. Let's say you have an AK Blue Lemonade, which is the most popular one, and you have a Titan 2014 Holo. Let's say at the wood. Now let's say at the middle, which is like at second pos, which is not the most popular. Let me get one of those. Okay, let's say you have this item, an AK Blue Lemonade, minimal wear condition with a Titan 2014 Holo, which if you don't know, this is like the most expensive sticker you can get on it. And it looks pretty cool, to be honest. Said for the guy that this is like a trade band. It was bug band. Oof, my boy. So yeah, how would I price this item? The bad thing is with special properties, it's kinda hard to find buy orders. So the bottom line. What you can do, you can go to some trading forums and see if you find people that are especially interested in similar items like this. Because if some guy says, yo, I give you like 40 bucks for that, this would be like your bottom line. For price checking those, I would recommend Buff. Of course, you should, depending on how liquid it is, go also to other marketplaces, but it's kinda hard to filter for those. For example, on CSFloat, which is one of the biggest ones for, shit crafts like this, you will mostly find a few ones. We see the cheapest Kato crafts. Can we do ducking? Not okay. We can filter for non-scratched here, but we see the cheapest non-scratch sticker at the moment is $480 on CSFloat, and on Buff also around that value. So if you now find a skin that is comparable with your one, AK Blue Lemonade for example, I would say something like an M4 Guardian is really comparable, if not better, because if you find a skin that is definitely better, like this one for example, this is a more expensive skin. It's not that fitting, but it's a more expensive skin. There are 2 Kato stickers on that. It is most likely that your AK is worth less than that. So I would say $800 is definitely the top line, but I'm looking at the listings, I think around 600 euros is more reasonable. So you have a ducking top and bottom line that is most likely really far apart. And this is sadly just normal for items like this because they are so rare. There are other tools, for example for Blue Gems, CSGO Blue Gem, you can just check several sales of these items and several listings easier. But I would still say that Buff and CSFloat like this are really good and useful information. But yeah, we still have a really big price range now. What we do is pretty easy. I would suggest, because as long as you are the cheapest listing, there is a chance that it gets sold. So depending on how fast you want to get rid of this item, I would say you list it so that you are on the market the cheapest listing for an item like this. For example here, I mean these are scratched, so it's not that comparable. These are totally scratched, I wouldn't compare yours to that, and yeah, the condition is also better here. I mean, this is pretty much like yours. Pretty similar float. Maybe you start at 770? Would be a wild guess. I would be surprised if it sells. But you can try it depending on how fast you want to get rid of it. But be honest to yourself, if you can get this for 800, I think yours is most likely less than that. Depending on that, you can list your items on several marketplaces or try to trade it for the specific value in that price range. The higher you go with the price, the lower the chance that you actually find a deal. Let's take another item here. Let's go maybe with a low float item. I think these are pretty reasonable. What low float could you have? You could maybe unbox the number. Let's say you get a 0. Let's price my item. I'm the proud owner of a 0.003 butterfly lower in factory new condition. Hella clean, except for that little bump up there. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, it's rank without this taking Stattrak not in account, ranked 19 in the world. No, ranked 20 in the world. So really good, but not the number 1. So comparable hard to price, because if you're in the number 1, you can ask whatever you want, to be honest. Let's use buff first, because buff is most likely the best place to find prices for that item. And we filter, because we are less than 0.01, so we can just filter like that. And we get similar listings already. This one is a little better than mine and listed for 4,550 euros, so around 700 euros over market price. Let's take trade records here also as a reference. There was a supply for a float like this for 4,100. Here you already have your bottom line. There are buy orders for this float. I'm really surprised of that. A similar one to ours sold for 4,100. So I could say this is not a bad estimate. Now on buff you can go through the prices and you instantly see which are worth more. So these are most likely lower floats. 0.001 better than ours. 0.01 worse than ours. So yeah, looking at the listings, the buy orders and the prices, I quickly get a feeling that 4,500 to 4,300 is a realistic price for this item. And you can pretty much do that with any item you have. You will get items where you have way more infos, like buy orders here. This is pretty easy to price, to be honest. But just try to get a price range with the information you have available. Of course, you can use Price Empire again, just taking look the item up there, and we most likely find a few more with a good float, so more information on your pricing. And yeah, then you can just choose any price within that range, depending on how fast you want to sell it, and there's a really good chance that you sell it for a price where you don't have to wait too long, but still don't lose a lot of your value. In the end, if you have the cheapest listing for a specific item on a specific marketplace, there is always a chance somebody buys it. So that is why I always recommend that you give them way more time to sell or trade and orientate and fine-tune your pricing over time. Getting no offers for a few weeks? Maybe you should lower the price a little. With these items, there is never the one market price. It is always a price range, and the more value you want within the price range, the lower the chance of a deal. Of course, you can always ask more experienced people for their opinions, or you can just hop into one of my streams where I regularly do price checks. And yeah, I hope you learned something. I hope you can now price your items. Don't forget to join the giveaway, boys. I am Neon, and I'll see you guys in the next one.